You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Right, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. We are here again this week. It is Friday, October the 21st, I think. I sometimes get the date wrong, but we're in our third week. Yep, today is it's going to be Friday. The date is the 24th. And so we asked you to tune in. We're going to be talking to Dr. Julianne Melville, our first half, about politics and the economy and anything else she can throw in. And we also going to talk to Attorney Dana Stebbins. You're going to hear her last topic on what's going on with politics in America. We can ready to switch over to start talking about how African American people can make money with the stock market. So let's go to Dr. Julianne right now and talk to her this week to find out what's going on. How you doing, Dr. J?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
It has been an interesting time, Lyndia, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
As
Especially the
of
president
today,
tearing down the building at the White House today. I saw it on the news.
and he said he wasn't going to do that. But of
Right.
course, the man is he's a liar. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a nicer way we could call him prevaricator. We could say he has a casual relationship with the truth. But
Mhm.
let's just go all the way down and say the man is a liar.
Mhm.
He wouldn't know the truth if it woke up with him in the morning.
Mhm.
I mean, he just lies.
Mhm.
And so tearing down our historic building to basically assuage his ego with this ballroom that we don't need is vintage Trump.
Mhm.
But it's everything he does rattles everybody's cage, even his own people's cage, because it's affecting everybody. He said, he is we're 4 weeks now into the shutdown. We shut down on October 1st. Today is the 28th. So we are, no, it's not the 28th, it's the 22nd. So we've been out 3 weeks, going on four. As of Monday, it will be 4 weeks that we've been out. Because Congress couldn't put it together, because Republicans won't talk to Democrats about this health care issue. And so here's what we have. We have the government that's shut down. Not only is it shut down, but Lil Mike Johnson has sent Congress home, told them to do this district work.
Mhm.
However, this Congress has met less than any Congress since mid-June. They've met less than 20 days, Lyndia.
Yes,
They
I
have
know.
not met. I think the number might be 26, 16 days or something like that, but they
Mhm.
have not met,
Yes.
which means we're at a stalemate. Meanwhile, most federal employees got their first paycheck, but their next check either will be partial or not at all.
Mhm.
This is the longest shutdown in recent U.S. history, and there are lots of impacts to it. We're not getting the data that we need, the first Friday data that the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts out. We don't have that. I
Right.
mean, so I can't tell you. I did an interview with Ariva Martin this morning, and she said, "Well, what do you know about the September data?" I said, "Nothing," because they're not putting the data out. They've shut the government down. There's a lot of stuff that's beneath the lines here.
Mhm.
As an example, when they got the last numbers, he didn't like the numbers, so he fired the Commissioner of Labor Statistics.
Right.
I mean, no, wrong. How do you do that? So
Mhm.
now we don't know. So there are lots of folks, they can't plan. Economic fluctuations affect business planning. And if you don't know what happened, you can't plan. So the last time we saw the unemployment rate overall was 4.3%. It was 6.7 or 8% for Black women in particular. The employment population ratio of every group, that's the percentage of the population that works. That stayed steady or went down only a little bit, like a tenth of a percentage point for everybody, but by more than 2 percentage points for Black women. So we're looking at a situation where they don't want to know what these fluctuations are. But back to the shutdown, however, many employees are being forced to work, but they will not be paid.
Mhm.
The Supreme Court ran out of money. So I'm not sure what people are moving money around. So it was allocated here, they move it over there. So I'm sure the court has not closed, but I'm not sure what's going on with their employees. But the court, they're the justices themselves are making decisions, but the people who do the PR and everything else, they're not there. Um, some programs like Head Start are facing funding gaps, not shut down yet, but probably soon come. Air traffic controllers. We've seen several disruptions in air travel. If they don't have the controllers, they can't fly the planes.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had many cases of basically a Los Angeles area airport, I believe it was Burbank, Boston at one point. Uh, we've had over a dozen airports around the country not being able to keep their schedules because there were no air traffic controllers. Um, the Federal Aviation Administration says this is going to continue. They can't make people come back to work. Some people have called in sick. Maybe they're sick, maybe they're not, but some people have called in sick. And they've said if they find someone who wasn't sick, they may well fire them. Well,
Mm-hmm.
can you really afford to fire air traffic controllers when you don't have enough?
Exactly.
You know, the Department of Treasury says the economy is losing at least $15 billion per week of output because of the shutdown. $15 billion per week. And the fact that they're not collecting data or not sharing it means that there's all kind of economic reverberations. How long will the shutdown last? Nobody knows. They're saying Thanksgiving. Okay, so that's another month from now. What does that do to people? What does that do to and many of us, and I think we have to do more financial literacy education, but many of us live our full paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Don't set anything aside. So now in Prince George's County, as an example, where as you know, it's the richest African American county in the country, with many federal employees. You got people who are worried already, having just missed one paycheck about how they're going to make their mortgage. You have others who are talking about credit card debt and others who are talking about the simple act of eating. Will we be able to eat? So this is what's happening all over the country. People are very worried. These worries turn into economic uncertainty and definitely affect our economy. And this is it's widespread. It's not just Black people. It's not just, poor people. We're seeing this across the board. So how long are we going to be closed? That's really the question. And consumer confidence, business investment, employment, all those things are up in the air. Let's basically say up in the air. Now, last Saturday, Lyndia, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still smiling about it, we had the No Kings protest. In
Mm-hmm.
Washington, D.C., there were probably 200,000 people out. I didn't go out because I'm too old. I didn't, the crowds were, my young people kept calling me back saying, Doc, don't come. I mean, because it was very crowded. And, some days my balance is off. And say, I was like, no, I don't need to get knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the last time I was in a big crowd, I almost fell. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do that. But my young people reported back. Noah Portner from WPFW is a new addition to our team. And he was out, and I talked to him a couple of times about what was going on. And then my godchild, Matthew Brown, who reports for Associated Press, he was out as well. They had very similar accounts of what's going on. They said there was lottie dottie and everybody out there.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks, white folks, gay folks, stray folks, exuberance. My trainer sent me a picture of him. He had made a sign. He said a lot of people had homemade signs. He made a sign. He said, "I told y'all not to vote for Trump. Now see what you got."
Mm-hmm.
That was what his sign said. But people had signs. People were creative. I don't get the frog thing. Some people were dressed as frogs. I don't understand. But hey, just do you, boo. The
Mhm.
fact is that there were a lot of people out there. They were very exuberant. And what's interesting is the response from the administration.
Yes,
Like
it was.
7 million people, 2,600 events. These are not just all Democrats. Um, they were in LA and New York, Chicago. Chicago looked like it was shoulder to shoulder. Um, anyway, the DC, there were surveys that who was there? Who was there? In DC, which we know is Chocolate City, 86% of the participants were white, middle-aged, and more than half were women. And this is from Axios.
And
Okay.
Dr. J, look what happened with the internet yesterday around the world. Don't you remember he had all those people down there at his? We talked about that with Dana. I I just felt like it was planned because we didn't want to talk about what happened on No King's Day. That was Monday. I couldn't even see what Rachel was saying over here because my internet kept going. I'm just saying, I just may be me, but that's what I think.
Well, I always think when things like that happen, um, that one has to look, and especially when this man has exerted extreme executive power.
Mm-hmm.
Extreme executive power, what can we say? Um, but this seems to have been one of the largest single day protests in US history. Now, the Republicans have been really nasty. They claim that we hate America. But I wrote a column this week that we don't hate America, we just don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we built this thing. Why would we hate something we built? We just don't trust our country to be right with us. And that's our history.
Mm-hmm.
That's Black history. And for many working class white people, it's their history as well. But the hateful rhetoric coming from the Republicans suggests that they don't honor the First Amendment. They don't believe that people have the right to protest, have the right to free speech. And so your president, I'm gonna give him to you. I don't own him. Your president, his response to this was to do a meme of himself with a crown on in an airplane flying over a protest with the plane spewing feces or whatever, something brown
Mm-hmm.
on the people, on the people. And who were the people? My godchild told me he ran into a family, 3 generations, elderly grandparents, parents, and 3 little children. So you're spraying feces on little children? Give me a break. But let's be clear, that's what this president is about. He doesn't love the people. He doesn't love America. He wants to have a fight, and he's not only is he picking the fight, but he is escalating the fight. We've had shutdowns before without this kind of harmful rhetoric, but this particular shutdown is very challenging because um, it's hurting so many people. And he's already raised a question. Maybe I'm not going to give people their back pay. He's openly opined. We've had, like I said, he presided over the last large shutdown, which tempted to go into the Christmas holidays, and people did get their back pay. Now, this time he's saying, no, you're not going to get the back pay. So that becomes a huge issue. Meanwhile, he's getting setbacks from the court. Um, but he doesn't seem to be very affected by that. And usually the higher court, the Supreme Court, or the next appellate court, he stacked the courts. So, as an example, the mayor and governor, Mayor Portland, governor of Oregon, have said they don't want the National Guard there. They don't need the National Guard there. However, and they sued, but they lost.
Mm-hmm.
The next court said, well, if the president has a prerogative to do that if he wants to. So there we are. Um, meanwhile, yeah,
One
so
more minute. One more minute to close.
one more minute. Okay. Um, just quickly, higher education. He's offered colleges money if they comply with his ideology. So if you create a curriculum that agrees with him, then you can get more money. Most colleges have turned him down. Who are the colleges on the chopping block? You got Brown University, Columbia University, Cornell, Harvard, Penn, his alma mater, Princeton, UCLA, and many others. But there we have it. Higher education is on the chopping block. And finally, of course, we can talk about tariffs. We talk about it all the time. But General Motors has now said they will not make electronic vehicles in Canada because of Trump's tariffs. This affects Canada, but it also affects us because some of those vehicles will be more expensive. So basically, he's doing what he said he was going to do, and anybody who has a problem with it and also voted for him, you do not believe that fat meat is greasy, but you're about to find out, or you may have already found out, with the hundreds of thousands of people who are not getting paychecks, and some who don't even know whether they can expect paychecks or not.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Julian. We'll talk to you again next week, and we'll go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
And we are back. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. Spirit 1340 WYCB, Radio 1, Washington. I'm going to my second guest now, Attorney Dana Stebbins. She's been on every month now for a couple of years, and we are always happy to hear from her. Today, it's a little bit tricky, so she's trying to help us make our way through this water wave. I see us feeling like we on a slide trying to go down, and she's trying to help us. So if you just listen to what she has to say. And the first question I'm going to ask Dana today is, we have talked before about America losing its democracy to an autocratic fascist movement where the Constitution has little value. Are we there yet? And there were no King's demonstrations across the United States this past weekend. Can they make a difference?
Well, as much as I dislike having to say this, Lyndia, yes, we are there.
Okay.
We are definitely there. Let me remind your listeners that fascism is a far-right political ideology that believes in strong centralized authority, rejects democracy, prefers dictatorships, and suppresses dissent, and uses the military for political gain. all that should sound very familiar to your listeners with what we're going through right now. We are in a fascist state in the United States. The other is authoritarianism. We've talked about that before. And that is another way where the government reduces the input of citizens into the creation of policies and laws. It separates civil liberties from us. It doesn't abide by the rule of law. And it doesn't agree that there are separate branches of government. It is focused on the executive branch of government only and the concentration of power in that branch. That should also look familiar considering what we're going through now. Now, over the weekend, we had No Kings demonstrations in every major city and smaller cities, even small townships. Millions of people came out and demonstrated against this government and against its policies. And the response that we got, one, from the Republican Party, was that these people were anti-American. Two, were not representative of mainstream thought. And then the president himself came out and labeled them anarchists, said he didn't see anybody that looked like Americans in the crowd, didn't recognize anyone, and that we should dismiss the whole notion that there's opposition to him. So if millions of people can't demonstrate to this authoritarian, fascist government that we have now, that we have a right to be heard, I'm not certain what the next steps are for us. We've always in America believed that the right to dissent and to display your feelings on an issue, which is embodied in the First Amendment of the Constitution, governs how we act. The Constitution now has very little meaning to those in power because all they care about is power. So I don't know where we go because this weekend has yet to make a difference in the minds of those who are now governing this country.
But Dana, you also have a new term you want people to be introduced to.
Yes.
Describe the American government right now.
Okay. It is a term that we have often used, but only in the context of other countries and other governments like Russia, China. But we now have an oligarchy ruling the United States. An oligarchy means it's a small elite group of people, usually very extremely wealthy individuals or organizations who control all the levers of power. There's little or no citizen participation, and the leaders that are selected based on their wealth, their status, and their influence. The organizations that are chosen on the basis of which organizations like news media and outlets can help project the oligarchy's wishes and desires. Has nothing to do with real news, but it is the curation of news to support the oligarchy. The oligarchs are the leaders, and they're not held accountable. And mainly because they're often not disclosed to us. We don't know who these people are. We know some of them. We know the people behind the social media platforms that have now taken over everything and are running everything. We know some of them, Jeff Bezos and others. But we don't really know who's behind this oligarchy system. They're quiet millionaires. And they used to have to disclose themselves because they gave millions of dollars to political candidates. They've changed those laws. So now we don't know. All the laws are abandoned. and interpreted to be in the best interest of the elites. That's where we are in this country.
Well, Dana, I have a question based on what was happening yesterday with the internet being down. And with the
Yes,
president having all those people who run this stuff around the world at his inauguration, at his beck and call. Do you have
correct.
any thoughts about that? I did.
Oh, of
I
course, and I
did.
know you do. I know you do.
Of course. I tried to tell my family, but they act like I was crazy. But I think I'm right.
No, I think you're
And it was
absolutely
about the
right.
No King's March. He didn't want everybody to talk about it. That's what I
No,
think.
he did not, and he didn't want it reported. And so remember now, access to the White House is now restricted. You only get in if they let you. Major news networks have had to sign pledges
Yes.
to obey and not publicize things. And many of them have walked away because they refuse to sign them. So the news we get is filtered, is limited. And when they don't want us to hear about something, they use those people to keep us from hearing anything.
I'm telling
You're
you,
absolutely right.
the
There's no
news,
reason
I
that coverage
couldn't.
didn't get more.
That's right. I couldn't see Rachel yesterday. I kept trying. It was bad. It was bad. Kids at school said that teachers had to put things off because the internet wasn't working. It just went on all day long. And
Yes.
people around me thought I was crazy. They just thought I was crazy. But I'm telling you, I had that feeling in my spirit, what was happening.
Look at remember TikTok was
Yes.
supposed to be bad for the United States, and it was going to get barred from the United States unless it sold its interest to Americans. Well, a deal was struck, so yeah, they will sell their interest to 5 wealthy Americans. The same ones that control all of the news now will now control another outlet, TikTok. Everything will be orchestrated through these small group of elite, wealthy oligarchs. They're nothing more than oligarchs.
So, Dana, what's next for us?
You know what, Lyndia? When thinking about this show today, I struggled to find something hopeful to tell your listeners. I can't find anything hopeful right now. I'm looking, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to be objective. I'm trying to find a way to believe that we will get out of this. And the only thing that I can rest my faith in is the Almighty. I don't see anything that men are doing or women are doing that will change this. So I think the only thing we have to cling to is God. And I urge all of us to form prayer circles, to hold hands, to figure out how to ask for guidance so that we weather this storm and ask that we end up on top in the end. Perhaps all of this is designed to teach us a lesson. I don't know what it is yet, but I just have to have enough faith to believe that we will come out of this somehow.
It reminds me of the Christmas movie when everybody was praying and they were at the Christmas tree, and it's like everybody's praying down there. So it's a wonderful life. It's like, I do believe that if enough people are praying for that same thing, we will be heard. So I agree with you on that too, Dana. Dana, thank you for being my guest today, and I am so grateful to you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Lyndia.
All right, that concludes our show for this week. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.